Well, welcome back to another week of Fridays in the Field, brought to you by FNBO, the Great Big Small Bank. And we're circling back around to near Henderson, Nebraska, with our grower, Matt Hiebner. And Matt, corn looking a little bit different than the last time we checked in a little over a month ago. Just give us an update on some of the changes that have been happening across your operation.
Yeah, so last week was a pretty big week. We got, corn was finally tall enough to start ridging. Got all of our ridging done and all of our post spraying done. So we should be pretty well done with field work on the corn side now. This week we're getting all the pivots and pipe fired up, getting the corn some water. We missed all the rains the last couple weeks, and so we're pretty dry. Most of our corn is between that V6 and V9 stage right now, so moving along pretty well. The stuff we've gotten water to so far is really perked up and taken off this week already.
I know the wind certainly played a role last week in drying things down, and then you had those missed rain chances, so everything going. Tell us just a little bit about your irrigation. You did mention, and talking ahead of time, you've got some gravity but a lot of pivots.
Yep, so we're primarily, I'd say 80% of our ground is irrigated by a pivot, and then about probably 10% is, or less than that, is drip irrigation, which is actually the field we're in right now. And then we got a couple fields that are still irrigated by gravity, and then gravity pivot corners as well.
Let's talk about this field, because one of the things that I really wanted to touch on throughout this growing season with you, you do some relay cropping, and you've got some beans here in between your corn crop. Give us an update on how that's going.
Yep, so just to recap a little bit, we started out, we planted the corn, and then about 2 weeks later we came back and we drilled the soybeans into this field. The corn was just about to emerge at that point, and then got it sprayed, and we caught a rain, and so the beans came up. And so kind of the plan right now is this field is actually drip irrigation, and there's 3 zones throughout it. And so we're going to be doing some nitrogen testing in each of those zones, applying different amounts of nitrogen, and then we should be able to see that on the yield map as we go into harvest then.
How are you feeling about this project? You mentioned the beans came up, which is kind of that next hurdle that you got across. So what's next for this field in particular?
So right now it's looking a little bit yellow. We think the soybeans kind of took up all the nitrogen that we applied early on, and so now we're going to start pumping some nitrogen to it. We're hoping the corn kind of overcomes the soybeans, and the soybeans stop taking the nitrogen up, and the corn can start feeding off some of those nodules that the soybeans have created so far.
Let's talk about some of your other fields. I know you primarily have corn, and you mentioned some of the irrigation that you do there. How are other things looking across your farm?
Really good. Little bit of hail and wind damage on a few fields, nothing major by any means. But other than that, underneath the pivots where we've irrigated in the past already, the corn is looking phenomenal. It's grass green and growing like a weed.
So obviously the weather is always a big impact and a concern. Do you have other issues that you're concerned about as we move into this part of the growing season?
Right now, we just got done scouting all the fields yesterday. Everything's looking really good, not seeing any disease or insect pressure at this point. So yeah, primarily it's just irrigation, and we're starting to fertigate this week and get that second shot of nitrogen to our corn.
So it'll be about another month, and at that point we may come out and even have some tassels when we talk to you again, kind of lay out what the next month looks like for you.
Yep, so like I said, we're gonna start fertigating here this week and get our first shot of nitrogen on, get another shot on this field and try and get the corn to green up a little bit, and then just continue irrigating, get all of our gravity going, and yeah, just the long days of summer.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for another edition of Fridays in the Field. We'll catch up again with Matt here in about a month. And Fridays in the Field, of course, brought to you by FNBO, the Great Big Small Bank.